So you have a tender rate and you love overlanding. You have plans to do it big on the trace and some super glamping. One ideas, deep news and reviews, a podcast the first rate and here just for you. You don't have to think about it, join us and be about it. Something interesting we want to hear about it, come on let's talk about it. Welcome to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints podcast.
Sponsored by MIDLAND, communication for every adventure. The industry leader in radio communication technology and innovation for over 50 years. Sponsored by MYMEDIC. Sponsored by TEMBO TUSK. Sponsored by Shower Pouch. Sponsored by DMOS Collective, mission built and made for mobility. Sponsored by BrewTrek. Sponsored by Hard Impact Designs.
Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
So what's going on, Mike?
Oh, Phil, it's a good day, good day. A lot going on in my world. My video went out today announcing the revealing of my truck. So now I'm free to talk about that anywhere. So that's good. A little bit of relief. And I've got a lot of videos coming out on the build. Probably every week now there's going to be a video coming out. So excited about that. I wish it would stop raining out here. It seems like it's rains every day out here in New England lately. So
it's hot. It's hot here.
It's hot here too. Yeah. I think
wish it would rain. It was a sprinkle for like 30 seconds yesterday, and then it went back to being hot. So you didn't. I just thought you were going to go a lot further into the new video that just came out and the build and everything. Me on a personal level, I've been waiting to hear more. You've told me more than others, but I still don't know much.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to introduce it today, and then I've got video coming next week about the beginnings of me, painting the underbody and prepping and getting ready to we've obviously custom fabricated the box. The videos are lagging a little bit behind, are going to lag behind where I'm actually am in real life. I mean, in real life, the truck's coming back tomorrow from paint. It's orange. And the box obviously was done. And so, there's, it's just the way it works. The editing time and everything that goes into it, the videos are a little going to be behind what the real life is. So, yep.
So I want to talk about sushi.
Sushi. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
I just had sushi with my wife from Safeway. I had to run some errands today, and I stopped into Safeway and got some sushi. This is not the first time I've gotten sushi from Safeway.
Yeah.
I go there, and I'm very comfortable doing it because they have good sushi.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning it's prepared the traditional way. It's not some nouveau style. It's just regular traditional sushi. And the quality of the ingredients are very good. And that's practically what makes sushi good, is those two things.
Right.
Do you eat sushi?
I do. In fact.
Wait a minute, we had sushi together at
you and I did.
Northwest.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually, some of the local stuff that the fish camp where I stay down in Baja get such high quality stuff. We do sushi out of that sometimes right off the boat. It's amazing. It's like really amazing. But it's funny you say grocery store sushi. You know where you can get it here? We don't have Safeway in the Northeast here, but we do have a fairly local grocery, Big Y. I think they're out of New Hampshire, maybe, or they're kind of around New England and maybe out of New York and whatever. They've actually got a good section that you can get it up here in Northeast. So it's weird.
I remember years ago, if I wanted sushi, I couldn't even just go to any sushi restaurant. I had to go to specific sushi restaurants.
Yeah.
And now I can just go to my regular old grocery store. Cause in my neighborhood, we have more than one grocery store. And as far as however I don't know how you would say it, as far as levels, they're probably the lowest level grocery store in our neighborhood. We have another one that's like a co-op called QFC. And they're kind of like a little above them. And then not that far away, we have a Whole Foods, and that would be considered maybe a little higher.
Right.
And you might expect that those other two good sushi.
Right.
Safeway has strong sushi.
Yeah, it's weird. I know. I've noticed the same thing. It totally depends. It's kind of like I think I mentioned it when we were up at Expo. Remember that time we stopped at that gas station? We had great coffee, like at some hole-in-the-wall gas station. It was amazing. So
we never talked about that. I don't think people would. We need pictures if we talk about that, because nobody would ever believe how deep into coffee that gas station was.
Oh my Lord. Half the store was a coffee machine.
Yeah, it was. How many coffee creamer choices out of machines did they have?
A lot.
Like maybe 20?
Yeah, like 20. It was crazy. Yep.
Just different creams. And after all is said and done, it was good coffee.
It was very good. Yeah.
I forgot all about that place.
Yeah, it's weird. The grocery the game, I think, in the United States has certainly changed from like you said about sushi. Like back in the day, I think it was because sushi wasn't as popular or wasn't as big of a deal in the US or something. It was hard to get. Like like you said, you'd had to go to a really good sushi restaurant, and it was a tough time to find one of those. And you would never touch it out of a grocery store. It never happened. And totally different scenario now. It's weird.
And the reason why I brought that up was nomads and travelers through North America, they don't have it as bad as just maybe 5 years ago. I pretty much go to McDonald's on a trip basically because I have a taste for McDonald's. It's not that I'm forced into that option anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
I can go into a grocery store and get like a really good meal.
Yeah. Well, particularly now with truck stops, or the prevalence of like TA and Loves and all Buc-ee's in the Southeast, all these big places that like now it's a lot more than stopping and get fuel, right? It's like a fuel and a bathroom and showers and you could get just about anything to eat inside. They range all the way from like having actual restaurants inside them to like full on, like that place we went with the coffee. Like, and then I've seen places that have full on prepared food, heated up and everything. It's all over the place. Now, having said that, I had to laugh when you told me at Overland Expo last week, when we went, remember we were having the munchies at that gas station and we you're like, I'm going to buy a couple of these in case one's like garbage. And it's funny you said that, because I did the same thing. I bought like 3 of them and one was crap. I had to throw it out. I got some Hot Pocket. It was disgusting. It was just awful. So I was just like, I put that in the microwave in the hotel room, and I came out. I go, no, I'm not doing this. Chuck it.
And we went to a convenience store, which was stupid. If I think about how much I spent on the food in that convenience store on snacks, could have had like a delicious meal at a restaurant.
Yeah. Yep. For real.
Anyway. Did you witnessed with me, I believe, at Happy Hour, a company called Flatbed? They make an inflatable cover for pickup trucks.
Yes.
And they flipped it over
upside down and they sailed it in the pond.
Right.
Yes.
I'm starting to see a lot of products going that route. DMOS just came out with a line of inflatable tents.
Mm-hmm.
I saw at Overland Expo West, they may have been at Pacific Northwest. I saw a rooftop tent that is fully an inflatable structure. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing this technology starting to grow. I don't know if it's selling, but they're definitely pushing it now.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's similar to the kayak industry, right? So like all the inflatable kayaks, inflatable stand-up paddle boards, that kind of thing. Because the technology got so good that, like when you inflate one of those things, like a SUP, it is hard as a rock. So it takes up a lot less space. Like how many people can carry around a 12-foot kayak on board? You can see in the background on my kayak's on the roof there, but like it's too big, right, to go inside. So an inflatable thing solves that problem, as does with a tent or like you said, with a pickup truck back, because the thing is with those kind of things, they're big, they're bulky. Where do you store this extra stuff? So if you've got a pickup top, as an example, you got to have a place to have that in your yard, or a lot of people don't have yards or places to put this stuff. So I think the concept's good. And like for a tent or something like that, it actually creates a structure that's more, how do you say this? It's like more lifelike, or it's more like a house and less like a tent. So I kind of think the concept's pretty interesting.
Well, I agree with everything you said, just how you said it. I'm fearful. Right now, most of the products that I am aware of, I think are good products.
Mm-hmm.
But what ends up happening is the second level vendors start popping out.
Yeah.
That make the same thing and it's not the same quality.
Right.
Like if I'm correct, the flatbed that we witnessed, it's made out of some material, if not the same, but similar to what those military speedboats.
Yeah. The pontoon or the amphibious things, like with super tough rubber or whatever it's made out of.
There was a particular brand that I was trying to think of. I couldn't think of the name of them, but yeah, you're right. And so if somebody bought one of those camper tops, from the little bit I know about them, I'm thinking, yeah, that's a good idea. It's made out of a good product. You don't have to worry about it getting punctured if you back into a tree or
Right.
Something like that.
And we saw it testing out. I mean, we saw it floating in a pond.
Yeah, they didn't do like any kind of setup or anything, because from my understanding, they weren't even supposed to do it.
Right.
So they just grabbed the top and threw it in the water and took it across.
Yep.
And it was the owner. He felt very comfortable. Well, we just recently had an owner of a vessel confident in it, so that I guess that doesn't mean much.
That's true. Did you see the latest on that? I don't know if it's true or not. Did you see that? I just saw a video. Here we go. We're off tangent again. I just saw a video on the submersible that went down to the Titanic, and it seemed pretty legit to me that there was, because I don't know if you remember the way that they communicated to the submersible would communicate to the top side was by this text thing. Well, I just saw a video talking with the text messages in it. And according to this video, they knew, I believe it was 19 minutes before it actually imploded, that something was wrong. In fact, they jettisoned the landing, I don't know what you call it, the feet, I guess, of the thing, and the ballast to try to go back up and get back to the surface, and it failed. And so they knew something was wrong. It was either taking on water in the electronics part of the pod in the back or whatnot. And they couldn't figure out what the problem was. Apparently they heard cracking sounds or something, which was probably indicate there was something wrong with the rear of the thing or whatever, but they couldn't get back up. So, I mean, this went on for a while, and then the last communication was something about negative effect. We're not ascending or something, and then that was it. So, it leads you to believe that they knew it was. I don't know. To me, it sounded like everybody knew that this thing was done when it happened. So, I'm not really sure what that whole week-long drama was all about.
Well, you know, I'm a conspiracy theorist a little bit. I paid attention to this when it was happening. There were so many experimental vessels that were trying to make their way there to be part of it. There were so many companies that were willing to volunteer. There was money involved in this.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity for research and development on existing vehicles. This was a good opportunity for certain companies to advertise. Like the company that actually had the vehicle that was able to find the field of scraps.
Right.
Okay, that was the best commercial they could have ever got.
Right.
They'll probably be one of the first people called if something like that happens again.
Right.
And you probably know better than me, the costs on things like this are in the multi-millions.
Oh yeah, huge. Yeah.
So, I mean, one job is a lot of money. Then on the government level, same thing. You know, governments, especially the big ones like us, we make a lot of military stuff, a lot of maritime stuff, a lot of air stuff, aeronautics stuff. And it's been tested, but it's not proven.
Right.
Like, for instance, I don't want to get too political, but like in the Ukraine, there's a lot of military might that we've never actually had battle tested.
Right. So let's send it over there and see what happens.
Right.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, you see that every day.
So I think that a lot of that was all about money.
I mean, Ukraine, not to get too into that whole thing, but I mean, that is right now is a proving ground better than any proving ground on planet Earth for drones. A large part of that war from both sides is being fought with drones that are being developed in Iran, in China, in the United States. I saw something about something that came out of Sweden. Even DJI's gotten involved in it. So it's like, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but the likelihood that, you know, I'm going to have a better drone in about 2 years, you know, take video with is probably pretty good because they're testing this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds terrible, but I mean, it's the truth. I mean, look at it yesterday. They had bombed or damaged that bridge going into one of the occupied Russian areas there. And that was done by a drone. And then very subsequently, right after that, we had footage of it, of the result and everything, also from a drone. I mean, it's all from drones. So it's crazy.
Yeah, and we're talking about the big ones that can deliver bombs, but they have drones the size of flies.
Yep.
They have what they call nano drone technology, where they literally have a swarm of them, like almost like a swarm of bees, and they all maneuver together. There's so much technology that they have that they're getting to really play around with and extend the capabilities of.
Oh yeah, little spy ones that they can send in. They're tiny, so they can, you know, send them in through a pipe or something. I mean, it's crazy.
And they have some now that it's not actually they don't call it a drone, but they're almost like birds. They look like a bird. They fly like a bird.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about gross vehicle weight ratings.
Mm-hmm.
And let me give you a heads up in where my head is at. first I want to talk about it in general, what it is, because I was shocked to learn that a lot of so-called overlanders and travelers and nomads have absolutely no idea what that is. And that's probably one of the top 10 most important things that they need to know for so many different reasons. One being insurance, and another, if you plan on going anywhere in that vehicle, and I mean beyond just driving it, I mean shipping it and things like that, international travel, that plays a humongous factor on your final costs, or if your ability to even take those trips at all.
Yep.
So I'm talking to the man. Mike, what is gross vehicle weight?
Well, for the layperson, what it means is essentially what the total weight of the vehicle is with your stuff on it, and what the ability that the vehicle has of carrying the stuff. So it's interesting that you bring this whole topic up, because my thing with it is, I'm going to give you a real life example of exactly how it's affecting me right now. So the truck that you see sitting behind me, my last truck from the military, was basically called a 2.5 ton truck. So that means it could carry 2.5 tons of stuff on board it. My new truck that I'm building, which is ballparky in the same vicinity of size, is a 5 ton truck. It's one of the reasons why I'm switching vehicles, because it has the ability to carry double the amount of weight, right? And why? Well, because it's got 3 axles as opposed to 2. It's a 6-wheel drive truck instead of a 4-wheel drive truck. But what I find, myself included, interestingly enough, I just put out a video today, and I had some video footage of me in Africa with my Land Rover. It was grossly over the gross vehicle weight. Let's just say that we were grossly overloaded. And I mean, not just like a little bit, I mean a lot.
It visibly looks like it.
Yeah, going down the road like this, it looks like a yacht. It looked like, it just. But my point is, what I found out from being in the overland world for so many years now, here's my controversial statement I'm going to make. Most vehicles out there, particularly on full-timers and people that are going, even on weekend or multi-week trips, are exceeding what the manufacturer outlined for the vehicle. That is in my opinion, is a true statement. I think most people load up their whatever it is, their Toyota 4Runner, their Jeep, their Land Rover. It is overloaded. It's exceeding the rating on the vehicle, period. And we're all, myself included, are abusers of this. And I think that is something that is so the gross vehicle weight rating is super important from many. And like you said, it comes into play on multiple things. It comes into play on the cost, insurance, let's shipping. We're going to take it, whether you're taking your truck to South America and you got to go around the Darien Gap, some of the weight is going to be involved in how much it costs to ship, what it can fit in. All that stuff becomes into play. And then when you're there, how about waiting? How about how much it weighs on the road? How about bridges? How about, crossing like some of these developing countries? Some of the infrastructure is terrible. And I can tell you, like, my experience from Africa is like my truck, I'd have to drive around most of the bridges. Good luck going over them. You're gonna collapse the thing. So all of this stuff comes into play. But I think the most important part where it comes into play probably has to do with loading your truck.
Well, most people think that as long as when I hit the brakes, it feels like everything's okay. I feel like I have good handling. It doesn't matter about that gross vehicle rating number. I would be able to tell, I would be able to feel, but you're not going to feel it until you're on a highway and you have to slam those brakes.
Yep.
And you go far beyond in distance what you thought you would go.
Yep.
It comes into play if you have that accident and you cause an outrageous amount of damage where your insurance company is not shelling out the regular number it shells out. And it's like, whoa, we're going to investigate this one. And the first thing they're going to do is look at your gross vehicle weight, and then they don't have to pay you.
That's right.
And as far as also with insurance companies, I don't care who you got insurance from. There's basically stipulations that we're covering you as long as your vehicle is a safe, spec'd vehicle.
And by definition, if it's not within the weight rating, it's not safe.
Right. But there are new policies coming out now where there's specific wording about gross vehicle weight, because so many vehicles now are coming up with this issue. So many people are latching every possible thing they can on the inside or outside of their vehicle. So this is coming up more, and it's costing insurance companies. So they are like looking immediately at the accident and like, okay, what's the weight on the vehicle?
Yep. No, for sure. You got to remember that weight plays, like you said, plays a big factor in the accident itself, or the likelihood that you're going to get in one. But also, it plays into the breakdown of parts and whatnot on your vehicle. So the wear and tear, because of the weight, can make things fail eventually, which in turn, who knows what could give out, and next thing you know, you got a wheel falling off, or I'm going extreme, or the drive shaft fails and spontaneously slaps and slams into your transmission, and you could launch off the road. So
I don't think that's extreme at all.
No, it happens. Unfortunately, it happens.
So the person who says, yeah, I'm going to buy this Toyota, and Toyotas, this is going to take me 300,000 miles. Well, no, you need to cut off about 100,000 miles off that number. If you're not, that's within the vehicle specifications that you can get that kind of mileage. Mm-hmm. So you're already not a normal driver, and then you're an overweight driver.
I want to bring up two things that aren't talked about a lot. One is that many of the trucks that we see in the Overland community, I'm going to call the ones that we see that are common trucks, have a much smaller weight carrying ability than you would think. Mm-hmm. People do not know that. Mm-hmm. Some of them have very low weight carrying abilities. That's the first thing. And then the second point that I also want to make, and a lot of people don't, this is not talked about either, is that you really should be below what I'm going to say is a percentage. So if they give you 2,000 pounds to carry, I'm just shooting out a number. That doesn't mean it's great when you're carrying 1,999 pounds. You're right at that threshold. You really should be below 70% of whatever that amount is.
Oh, even my number 60. Was 80, but lower is better. Lower is better.
That's right. Whatever that number is, whether you set your thing at 80 or 70 or 60, or the lower is better. But I don't think people realize that there are vehicles I've seen that literally give you about, I don't know, let's just throw out a number, 1,100 pounds. So let's go with your number of 80%. So if you take 80% of that, you can only carry, whatever, 850 pounds, let's say. Do you know how fast you can get to 850 pounds?
That's 3 people.
Exactly.
You haven't put anything in the vehicle yet.
That's right. So
and people somehow never count themselves.
Yeah, that's right. So you got to count the people, you got to count the roto packs, you got to count the max checks, you got to count the rooftop tent, you got to count, your gear, your scuttle, whatever it is, tools, replacement parts, blah, 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 you know, it goes on and on and on. So I don't want to use this as a pitch for what I do, but I'm going to tell you one of the reasons that I go with these big, gigantic, you know, trucks here that I got behind me is because they have great weight carrying ability. So yeah, they're like elephants. They're awkward. They're big. They can't get into tight locations. They're not as great, you know, certainly not rock crawlers. They're not good at all that stuff. But for a full-time overlander like me, they carry a lot of crap, and I can stay well below my gross vehicle weight, even with all this crap that I have. You saw we laughed at how much stuff came out of my truck to go into the U-Haul, but I'm still well below what it's rated for. So that's an advantage.
I agree. So are you going to be at 70% in weight on the new vehicle?
I think I'm going to be at 60. I'm going to be that much lower because of that. So that extra axle. So the disadvantage is adding one axle to that truck with the tires that are on that, and you know, it's obviously huge. It adds about 3,000 pounds. So think about that. One axle of my truck weighs 3,000 pounds. Some people's cars don't weigh 3,000 pounds. That's just adding the axle. However, that increases the weight carrying ability of the truck by 2.5 tons. So that's, you know, it's 5,000 pounds, right?
Did you see anything about the new hold on, let me see. The ARB Earth camper?
I did. I saw something about it. I don't know much about it.
All I know is it's almost $60,000.
Yep.
And I didn't really want to talk about the actual camper because I only know the quick little media sheet that I got on it. I don't know anything about it.
Right.
But I was shocked that ARB jumped into the camper game. I know they used to have that real basic one years ago that Smitty Build had a version of, and it was just basically a box on wheels. I never thought they'd jump back in with a $60,000 camper.
Well, I mean, think about it. They've got, well, yeah, you're right. I guess they have been out of it for a while. It's a big business. The thing is with all this stuff, though, like once again, we're talking about the weight thing. I mean, I find the more expensive something is, the heavier it is. Right? I don't know why that seems to be, but like, yeah, I'll give you an example. Like, look at the AR or not ARB, the Alu cab. So it's super well built, super rugged, obviously built out of aluminum or more metal content to it. Tends to be a little bit on the heavier side, though, right? So now you're eating up your habitat, if you will. The construction of the habitat is eating into the weight that you can carry inside the habitat.
Well, I didn't think they would get. I was looking at it straight like business. I don't
Getting into it. Yeah, it's a competitive market. Well, I don't know. I don't.
So, I mean, are trailers moving off the lot like that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I will tell you, just from, this is non-scientific and I don't know what I'm talking about. But, you know, when I drive down the highway, I'm working on my truck down the road, I go by 2 camper places on the way. To me, it seems like there's more campers on the lot than there was a year ago.
I'm thinking about all the people I know on different overlanding trips currently. There's only one couple that I know of that's on what I consider a real overlanding trip that's pulling a trailer. And that is Iron Horse Overland. The only ones I know of.
Let me think about that. Yeah, they were up in Labrador, Newfoundland, and now I think they're in Nova Scotia. Yeah, they are. Let me think about this. I want to. Well, obviously one of the big ones, Lifestyle Overland.
They're not currently on a trip though.
Well, I think they're out on a light one right now, right? I think they're still up in Oregon. They're testing a new trailer, right? Because they used to run the Turtleback, and now they're testing out I should know this, and I don't know. I should know it. I know what it looks like, but I can't remember the brand.
So let me rephrase this then. I don't know anybody currently on a trip of any significant distance.
Or full time. Off the very top of my head, the only people I could think of as Iron Horse is the only people I could think of off the top of my head that live full time on the road, 365 with a trailer. And I'm sure there's others, but that's the one that's coming to my mind the quickest.
So just from my eyeball test, and my eyeballs see a lot of people, and I'm not seeing most of the trailers I'm seeing are people who aren't even really leaving their state. They're like weekend campers.
Well,
you disagree with
I'm
that?
a good example. No, I agree. I'm a good example of that. You know, I lived in that. I lived in my trailer for a year that I built, and as I said in my video I put out today, the trailer life wasn't for me. I didn't like pulling something. I found it to be, I guess the easiest way to say it, I found it to be scary, meaning that I always was worried about what was going on behind me, whether it's still attached, whether I attached it correctly, whether I remember to put the wheel thing up. You know what I mean? Like, oh, did I have the safety chains correct? It was always something. And then from an actual usage standpoint, you know, it was always about moving stuff, like setup and takedown, having to get stuff from the truck to get it to the trailer or vice versa. You know, where is you may have a lot of setup and takedown if you're truck based, but then you don't have the trailer to deal with. So this was kind of like the worst of both worlds. I had to do setup and takedown, and I had a trailer, and for me, even when I detached the trailer, like the base camp idea is super cool, and that's why I did it. Park the trailer, can take the truck somewhere, whatever. I got the base camp. I just found in reality, I still didn't want to take the truck anywhere. You know what I mean? And granted, I had a bigger
or if you
truck.
go somewhere, you really don't want to go back to go get the trailer.
Yep. Or you were worried about the trailer.
Yes.
Leaving it there. So, you know, that was the other thing. I didn't really want to leave it places. So yeah. Or like you said, you know, you have found this great camp spot. You leave it there. You go out and explore. You're on a super cool, you know, whatever off-road track, or, you know, get to adventure and explore. But then if you're going to go back to the trail, you got to repeat it. You got to backtrack the whole way instead of going to see something new. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, somebody's going to send us an email or something after this podcast and be like, guys, why are you picking on trailers so bad? I mean, I get it.
I pick on them because I see the excitement of people who want them and who first get them.
Mm-hmm.
And I also see how they feel a year or two later.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always a majority of the people that I meet, they were excited about the idea of having it. They got it when it was brand new and flashy. They liked it for a minute. But after a while, it became cumbersome. It became a problem. It became an obstacle.
All right, this is another shout out. If you're listening out there, there's a guy, and I got to get back to him. There's a guy that sent me an email, I believe from South Africa, listen to one of our podcasts, and I think he has a trailer company, or he's developing trailers. Let's get him on. I want to hear the other side of it. Let's get a trailer guy on, maybe a couple of them, and talk about trailers. That would be a great podcast.
We need to maybe talk to Iron Horse Overland.
And let's get them on, because these are guys that are not involved in actually making them, but actually using them, and they're doing it full time. They have a, I'm going to say the wrong brand for them too. They have a
Patriot camper.
Patriot.
Yeah.
Patriot. Yep. Patriot. Yep. That is
Yep.
correct. And they probably have legit more miles on that Patriot camper trailer than anybody. I can't imagine anybody has as many miles on a trailer as them, of all brands, possibly.
I would agree with that. And I've never heard them say, like, usually no matter what choice you make, you got some kind of complaints. Mm-hmm. I've never heard any kind of complaints from them about their trailer at all. So I think they would be excellent to discuss this with.
I've heard a few complaints out of them about like just getting some parts and stuff for it. And they're probably in a unique scenario where they need parts more than most because they put so many damn miles on it. But I've never heard them complain about trailer camping or being a nomad in a trailer. I've never heard them say anything negative about it. So I think it would be fascinating to talk to them.
Yeah, I've observed them. Once they park, once they've settled on where they're going to park, and they get their chairs out, they're happy.
Yep. and so you and I were complaining about some setup and takedown and potentially and exploring and stuff. One of the things, so obviously there's no perfect overland vehicle for anybody. And we've talked about that a zillion times. Obviously the trailer thing suits them the way that they like to do it because they largely cook all their meals in camp. They do everything. They've got a dog with them. They do everything in camp. So for them, I think it probably is a great setup. For people that are more restless, or many in like let's go with the van life community that like to move around a lot, that's probably not the ideal setup, right? So it certainly depends on what you do. And for me, it was, and I had probably what I'm going to call the top of the trailer thing because mine was, I could go inside, I could stand up in it, I could get out of the elements. It had everything inside. I had a full shower inside my trailer. So it wasn't even a scenario where I was having to flip out things or flip out awnings or, put up rooftop tents or any of that stuff. And I still, it was a little bit much for me. The pulling of it was the problem for me.
Well, I hope people aren't getting the impression that we hate trailers and we're saying that there are no situations that they don't shine in.
See, I think they're great for weekenders or people that are doing short because there's a legit scenario where you take your trailer with the rooftop tent on it, your camp kitchen, boom, that's ideal. And then you want to go out and do other stuff for the weekend or go out to a restaurant or do whatever. It's easy. You just detach and go. So that usage is probably better than any because right. I mean, you're not having to take your grossly overloaded vehicle that we were just talking about to the grocery store or to the restaurant.
The other usage where I see it really shines is the traveler who is a foodie. They love to cook and entertain. Someone like Marco, again, he's got a Patriot camper.
Yep.
You can have a full-blown kitchen with every amenity that you want. You don't have to, think about, I'll take this, I'll leave this. No, he's got everything right there.
That's right.
So
more packing, it gives you more space, right? Because you have all that space inside your vehicle, but then you also have, like you said, you can have a complete kitchen and everything that you don't even have to pack in your vehicle because it's in the trailer. So
kitchens, secondary tents for people to sit in. You can really, really entertain with.
Yep. I can see that. So, I mean, like we've said a million times on this podcast and elsewhere, there is no right answer when it comes down to what you're doing. I mean, it's just, it's how you live on the road. It's how you like to do things, what makes you comfortable, what doesn't make you comfortable. For me, it was just, if I'm going to go through the setup and takedown of all that, this is just me. I'd rather have a Jeep with a rooftop tent on it. I can be more nimble. It's the same amount of setup and takedown, but I don't have to worry about pulling something, and I can go more places. So that's just me. But I'm weird.
Makes sense to me. Who would have thunk it? A Jeep with a rooftop tent.
Yeah, I don't know anybody like that.
What you got going on in the next couple of weeks, Mike? Are you going to any events or anything like that?
No, I am. My next couple of weeks is going to be revolve largely around working on building the truck. I'm like full time right now, so no, I'm got my nose down, working in there and filming it, so you guys can get to see it.
So, what will we find in your? You said I could go right to your YouTube channel now and see the first episode, right?
First episode's up. It basically it gives you a little background on how I got there. It's mostly about it shows what my prior trucks were and how I kind of got to where I am now and why I'm doing the build that I'm doing. And it introduces it as it's a 2002 Sturton Stevenson 6-wheel drive, 20-foot bed, which we've converted into a 20-foot box. So that's the truck.
And that's not here. That's on your YouTube channel, Drive the Globe.
Drive the Globe's YouTube channel. Yep. And now probably each and every week I'll have a new video coming out showing me doing basically from looking like an army truck. By the end of it, it's going to look very similar to the truck that you see on the screen behind me, my last one.
I'm so glad you decided to do this. It's probably going to save you some heartaches because hanging out with you, I've seen all the questions about your build people have. Yeah, that'll be great to be able to refer people to that.
Yep, go watch the video. When they ask me a question about why did you do this? Well, okay, go watch the video. I'll show you why. Yep.
And it's just good to have a visual sometimes too.
Yep. Well, I also hope that it benefits other people because I know there's a lot of we talked about this on the podcast last week. There's so many people doing DIY and doing self builds, and quite frankly, to some extent, everybody's doing that because you're taking, even if you've got a stock truck and you're not doing anything to the truck, you're adding something. You're adding a fridge slide, or you're adding a pull-out drawer to store things in, or you're mounting something on the roof. Everybody's doing some level of DIY at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, and I encourage people who are jumping into this who maybe kind of have a fear factor of trying to do stuff yourself. Please try to do it. I'll use myself as an example. I'm not a mechanic, but I've done physically about 60% of the stuff done on my rigs.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very comfortable traveling solo because if my dual battery shuts down on me or I have some issues with a fuse or with my engine or whatever it may be, I may not be able to fix everything, but most things I'm confident I can patch it up and get me to somebody who can.
Knows better, exactly. And that's the thing is.
And it's because I took the time to install the compressor myself, to install the dual battery myself. And it took me longer than probably somebody else, but I know where every wire is. I know why that wire is there. I know if I disconnect that one, what other things it's gonna, do something to. And it's because I installed it. Yep. So don't just go to
and watch my stuff because I am not a builder. I am not a contractor in any way. I'm not a mechanic either. I watch a lot of YouTube. I listen and I look at what other people are doing. I am not a professional at it. So, but you gotta fail forward. You gotta try. And that's the thing. And the more that you do, the more, like Phil, like you just said, the more that you know, when something goes wrong, or the more you know about things, and then when you set out to do something else, it's like this time when I'm building the new truck. This is going to be a lot easier for me this time, because I'm essentially doing very similar stuff to what I did the last time, and I've already done it. So I learned something. So now I go, okay, well, I know what I did. This is how I did it last time. I'm going to do it the same way. It worked.
I think once you've achieved getting your first build almost exactly how you want it to be, once you've achieved that, every build after that is pretty easy, because you know in general what you need, what you want, and how those things are going to integrate with one another.
Yep. If you looked around my room right now behind me, I have IKEA furniture. I've got refrigerators. I've got Max Air vent fans. I've got Akuva water filters. I've got sinks. I've got chairs. I've got all sorts of stuff going on here in the condo. And, it's the reason I can do all this in advance. Like tonight, after I have dinner, I'm going to put magnets on my cabinets, because I know that's what's going to happen. That's what holds them in place when I drive. I even without the truck, I am working. I can even work at nighttime here. I'm doing stuff. It's all time, right? It's all cumulative time. So I can get all that stuff done. And when I install it, it's already done. And I know this because I did it before. The last time I put the cabinet in, then I figured it out. I got to put magnets on here, blah, blah, blah. Well, that took more time, and it delayed the build. It took longer to do it the last time. Now I know in advance. I go, well, geez, my truck's at the paint shop right now, but I might as well install magnets on my cabinets. How do I know that? Because I did it before.
And the more you involve yourself in doing your own build, people usually build in steps. You want to answer that, Mike?
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, I'll be right back.
People generally build their vehicles in steps. Most people don't just in a couple of months build their vehicle and get it to where they want to be. When you install these things yourself, it actually helps you to know what to purchase for those other steps in the build of your vehicle. If you installed maybe something electrical, well, what you learn from that is those other electrical things that maybe you have to install. Oh, well, I don't want to buy that brand. I want to buy that brand because they have these kind of connectors, or it has this kind of charging point. Whereas you may buy the wrong thing or not the best thing because you didn't install the other one and you don't know those little basic details. So it literally helps you with your future purchases, knowing what you got already, so that you can integrate them properly. There's some purchases you make where one choice, it's a good choice for now, but it's not a good long-term choice.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this will work for 2 or 3 years, but when the USB connectors go to USB-C, you got to replace that.
Yep. Well, what I'm doing on this truck right now, like last truck was all USB connectors, and now now everything's USB-C. So I'm putting in different connectors, but I'm doing it in such a way where it's replaceable, because 2 years down the road, it'll be USB-X or something. Who knows what's coming next? Right. Yep.
What kind of pizza did you get, Mike?
Oh, I got a pizza. Smells damn good over there. It's got some, I think it's meat pizza. Meat lovers.
Okay. So I'm not going to do you wrong and have you let that pizza get cold. Is there anything else you want to say?
Oh, it was actually good timing, wrapping up an hour of a podcast is like ideal here. No, I mean, no, I got nothing to say other than enjoy dinner out there, everybody.
All right, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully I'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.